Hello, everybody. This is Astrid, aka the Psychic Witch. Welcome again. I have another interview here with Abby, and as you've maybe seen, we already done one with Abby, and this time we are going to talk about, well, what's moving everybody, like everybody around the world right now, and that is the coronavirus. And our own psychic, tarot, and astrological perspective on the whole situation. I hope we are going to offer some maybe good ideas, new perspective, and at the end of it, we're also going to give some practical tips of what you can do and what you can implement today if you're quarantined, you have more time spending home, or in general in this quite interesting and unusual situation. So I have Abby here. If you like her, I'm sure you will. There will be links to her YouTube channels and all of the stuff that she's doing in the comment section below. So make sure you check her out as well. So coronavirus, I would say that's definitely like maybe like the most used word in the whole world right now.
Currently,
I think I would definitely say so. This is very interesting time because for our perspective on things are changing, our lives are changing as well. Everything is changing so fast. I would say almost everybody on this planet, almost I would say majority of people on this planet been somehow affected by it somehow. I'm personally in Prague. In Prague, I'm on a complete lockdown. I was supposed to only leave my flat for going to work, which I work at home, and for food shopping and pharmacy. And I can apparently occasionally go to park if I'm responsible, which nobody really specified what it is. So I'm pretty much on the lockdown. The streets here in Prague that are normally packed with tourists are empty. I think you don't have a lockdown just yet, do you?
no. I'm in the UK, so yeah, no, we're just being told almost to make your own call, but essentially we advise you don't do this, this, and this, but you need to make the call, kind of thing.
Yeah, we'll see how that will work. Um, yeah, today I got my face mask. There is a shortage of face masks pretty much all around the world. People are also experiencing shortage of physical supplies, which is something that we might talk about a bit later. I just realized it's actually quite one of the interesting aspects of this. But we are definitely experiencing loads of changes. We are facing limitations. We are seeing limitations that we didn't even realize are there, and we are definitely getting out of our comfort zone. Pretty much everybody. The way how we see the world, the way how sometimes even if I'm not self-quarantined, we are still getting out of the comfort zone because there is a fear, there is a completely new situation, and there is very little guidance on like how to cope with it, what you're supposed to do with this, emotionally, mentally, in situations like that. And also I would say, especially for Western society in general, we really haven't been like the last generation, our generation, millennials. We really haven't been through like wars or anything like that for some serious emergency situations in the Western world. So for us, I guess it's just something like completely where maybe our grandparents would be like, "So what? Like this is just like what I do every day." So definitely like I'm seeing that the level of comfort zone-ness seems to be changing with every generation, and like
Yeah.
it's like this generation is definitely hitting something new. So yeah, we're going to offer first kind of like a psychic perspective on things, then we kind of go into a little bit of astrology and cards, and then we kind of go through the practical tips. So Abby, what do you think about this whole change of perspectives and the new comfort zone that we are now being faced with, or not faced with, this being stuffed in our throat out of necessity, but
um, what? So when you say what exactly do you mean? Like, is in like how we're being told what we can and can't do, or how we're being restricted, or how do you sort of mean?
what do you think, like in general, like spiritual, psychically, how we can deal with like with like this new restrictions and those new perspectives, and in general, this new situation? What is it all about?
So, first of all, to do with say the virus, like my spirit guides told me this a very long time ago when I had a virus, because obviously we all get viruses. This is not like it's not like this is not a human being that's not had a virus. It's something that as human beings you get, And they always told me a virus is the quickest way to literally flush out an old belief system and imprint in a new belief system. And yeah, so I just literally feel like this makes so much sense as well, with
It's
the fact that
totally happening right now, all around the world. Totally.
yeah, totally. And I also there do feel like the thing about new belief systems, old belief systems, I do feel like the more people resist the transition from the old belief system to the new belief system, potentially the more difficulty it causes that individual or therefore the collective. So I think the really important thing is ultimately it's like, it's not resisting the change of how things are going. And then if we step outside psychically, then obviously this definitely comes into that whole kind of like, all these big establishments, right? Like the governments, like how money works, you know, all of these sort of things are starting to come into question, like how we like follow rules, what rules are, how things get, just anything that's quite, let's say, fixed and has been in a routine for a really long period of time. I think some of these are coming under huge amounts of challenges and kind of pressure. And then that applies not only within your own biology and not only in your own consciousness and thoughts, but then also in the external outer structures. Because I know you feel like me, don't you, with this hermetic thing about inside outside, like the reflection that goes on. And so I categorically really feel that's a big part of what's happening. And I do think ultimately it's a really, really good thing. But obviously change and transition, like obviously as humans, and what you were saying about getting outside of comfort zones and what stability is and how much we crave stability. And yet it's the one thing that as a human being, like life constantly changes, right? So it's not possible to keep something the same. And yet obviously I know that we find a lot of familiarity in similar stuff. So I kind of feel like that is kind of what's going off ultimately. What do you feel?
Absolutely. As they say, as above, so below. And it seems like there is this one underlying principle, and that is if you now in this situation resist the change, it's not going to be great for you. And that means like, okay, if you resist the change and you won't change your daily habits, for example, like if you will just keep insisting like going out and coughing on everybody and meeting everybody for a coffee, it's not going to go great. If you will just insist that things have to be the same, again, you will be facing you will hit the wall. But I think it also applies, as you said, on many different levels. So I would say also in terms of business, because it seems like the businesses who are really into going like ahead of the curve when it comes to development and when it comes to, in general, the development of society and humanity that's going towards more astral, more Aquarian era, then I do see that the businesses who are more adapted to online shopping, or either have online products, or if they can't have online products, at least if they deliver online, have online stores, at least some online presence, online communication and interaction with their own clients. Because in the old ways, there was not much communication and interaction that much with like people and their stores. They just like come in the stores and just get back. But now the businesses who are doing really well are doing loads of online interaction with their clients. And it seems like those shops and those businesses are doing better. And the ones who actually like insisted on doing things the old way, especially now with the quarantines and stuff like that, are really being hit by it way more than the ones who actually been ahead of the curve technologically.
Yeah.
So it seems like we are very much like hit in the face with this, like you have to change. You have to understand where the development of the humanity is going, and you can't right now insist on your old ways.
Yeah.
You have to go with the flow. So definitely this is about the whole system clearing out and bringing in new patterns and the new ideas. And I think not just obviously like health wise, but more like from the perspective of just this, the mental state of the society, how the society believes in things, how to see things, the perspectives, how they deal with things. I think that needs to change. Just the whole humanity as a whole, and it seems to be really like affecting people on every single level.
Yeah.
Relationships between people, health, work, just the way how they literally go about the whole day.
Yeah, I totally agree. And I think as well, like the whole point is that I think we mentioned this before about this whole 200-year cycle closing to do with all kind of like the earthly element things. So more like the Capricorn, like Virgo, kind of Taurus, all those kind of real earthly signs. It then switches into all this air, which is coming in 2021. And I do really feel like this is like the lay up to it. And I do think the cool thing is this, and this is so awesome. Ultimately, we're totally like, we're another animal, right? And so often, you know, that animals, like some of these species, they understand when things are coming before they come, and therefore they start to adapt and make changes. And I truly believe this is more like giving us all that kind of like, hey, look, this is where things are heading. Like, start thinking about how you'll adapt to this now. And I don't ultimately think this is like something which is like, you must do this now. Like, we've definitely got like a transition time and a transition period. But I think obviously the other thing is the more that you can like listen to the subtleties, both internally within your own life and your own thing, and then put it together with what is also going on collectively. And when you get that internal image and you can use it with that external image with what's going on in life, then you can start to work out, okay, cool. So how do I make this work for me? Like, what is the new ways of being? What is the new ways of doing? Like, what shall I start to think and consider with now? And like you say, businesses, for sure, like for sure, so many businesses are going to totally have to look at how they're going to go about doing things. And obviously, there will be some businesses clearly that will come into real difficulties with this as well, which is obviously like it's really disheartening, because I understand what it means to like build businesses and like to do all of these things. But at the same point, I do really feel, and this is the great thing, that as we go into this Aquarian energy, it's all about like community and humanity. So many positive things will come out of this. And obviously, like anything, it really isn't just about looking for the opportunity in whatever is going off, because there is always an opportunity, and it's just about tapping into your own psychic senses, your own intuition, your own gut feeling, and like going with that, because there'll always be something. And ultimately, this is a very life-giving process, despite how it might appear on the external. And I truly feel like that. I don't know about you.
I definitely feel that true. I think it's actually like business-wise, I think it's pretty much like the card Five of Cups, when the person on the Five of Cups is looking at the two cups that are spilled and can't see the three cups that are right behind him that are upright. And I think when it comes to like the business and the economics right now and how people feel about it, I think this card totally perfectly describes the situation. I would say loads of people are focusing on this. Oh my God, I've lost my business. My industry will close down. I'm going to lose this and that. But with every major shift, especially like technological one, basically since old Egypt, everybody's constantly obsessed with finding a gap in the market. Let's find a gap in the market. Let's find a gap in the market. But such a changes, like a major technological changes or new eras opening like this, definitely can be brings with so many new gaps on the market.
For sure.
So it's like I'm strongly believe that there's more opportunities opening with this than that they are closing.
Totally. But it's that thing as well, like we talked about in the beginning, a bit like with how a virus actually works. Like, if you resist something that's occurring, it's often the resistance that like wears down like your internal system and all the rest of it, and it will happen externally as well. So it really is about trying I think you just have to trust, obviously, what you know deep down inside, because I would imagine as well, because we are species like every other animal, we all get that feeling when something maybe isn't quite right, or when something needs to change. And I would imagine that quite a few of the businesses that come into some kind of challenging thing, which will be, they might not get through with this, there'll have been previous echoes of this before, you know what I mean? Because there always is. Hardly anything ever happens where it's just suddenly like bam, out of nowhere, apart from Saturn return. That's what happened to me. So there's always some stuff for sure, but I just get the feeling that that this is, we've been talking about loads of different things astrologically with certain cycles that we knew were all coming, and this was a time period that had been talked about a lot in the astrology community. So this isn't one of these things which is going to be a sudden shock out of nowhere, even though the virus in itself may appear that way. There's been much unrest with many different things that is showing that there's kind of like a frequency going on, which is kind of like agitated. Do you know what I mean? Almost like rising a body temperature just before you really get sick, and it's like that kind of thing.
Totally. I would say I would at least past maybe for 2-3 years at least, I would say there was definitely this build up when the technology and the youngest generation that are now teenagers coming forward, and basically, you know, spending all their time on TikTok and Snapchat, and like really this energy, this intent towards the society being way more technological, way more interactive, way more airy. This build up for that was happening, especially past few years. And this is not the first time that we are talking about like old style shops that don't have a website, don't have Facebook page, don't have anything, are losing customers. This is not the first time we are hearing that. This was something that was going on at least for 2-3 years. Exactly like you said, this is not completely coming out of nowhere. And I would say a lot of people had a lot of resistance because they've been doing it a certain way for so many years, and now they should change. But the thing is that things just change. The only constant is the change. And now, so yeah, definitely, I was definitely seeing that build up, and I was even thinking like, hey, there is so many energy that's keep building up towards like being pushed towards more this airy, more well-connected, more astral world life, because so many people are like actually moving their life online, because if friends on the Facebook, they, you know, so the life is moving online. There's so much build up. This must result in something. Like there is no way how such big energy can actually result in nothing.
Totally. And I know that, say, like with both me and my brother, actually, I had like a really, really detailed, intense dream. And I always remember it in November 2018. And basically my spirit guides were like, look, your chiropractic business that's going to end, and there's nothing you can do about that. Like, you need to get on with doing these other things, which was like all my online stuff. I was like quite human and was like, I'm going to ignore that dream because I don't know how I feel about it. But after a couple of months, I could see, oh shit, I knew it was a premonition, but I ignored it. And then obviously when life started to show me all the signs that this was true, I was ultimately like, okay, fine, I've got to go. And obviously that I made that decision like basically January 2019. And I know that my brother did something almost exactly the same. And I know that one of my best mates also started to make the change from, hers was a bit, not so much more online, but hers was very much from working for other people, for becoming her own kind of like Aquarius, kind of like, I'll be my own leader in what it is that I'm doing. And I do think it's like a combination of those things, because a lot of online pushing or doing stuff online, so many people are stepping into becoming their own boss in whatever way that might be. And I do also feel that that's part of this trend, because it's the Aquarius energy. And I do think it's been something that I'm sure it was being talked about at some point in the UK about how lots of people were becoming sole traders or stuff like that. Not so many people are employed. And also the benefits for being employed nowadays are not quite what they were a long time ago. Once again, just because stuff changes, right? Just because life changes, life evolves. And I think we're coming to that pressure cooker point of like it really showing us, look, but this is happening regardless. That's not to say that many businesses won't still do well if they're not so much like technologically based. But I would just say the trend of where stuff is going is that way, like artificial intelligence, like, you know, all of these things, and potentially even like cryptocurrencies and things like that. I think it'll be so interesting to see how that plays out, as obviously we know the stock market's already really crashing, and obviously it last happened 2008, but you know, I don't know about your country, but the UK's never completely recovered from 2008 crash. So then to have another crash before that's even got rebooted, I mean, clearly there's a structure that isn't working in some way, and we'll have to adapt, and it will overcome, because it's life, and life always does that. So I just think it's about just being open to possibilities that maybe you weren't, that seemed a bit radical previously. That would be it. Being open to possibilities that previously seemed radical. Because I do feel like those are the things that are going to come through, particularly with this Aquarius energy that's going to start leaving its way in.
I would say that definitely. I would say especially 1 year, past like year or two, it's a lot about like actually starting implementing ideas that seem incredibly radical. And that's obviously when it comes to the climate change and environment, like just the artificial intelligence, even the cryptocurrencies. There are all stuff that was like so completely out of everything and insane and sounding just a few years ago. And now we have like all the paper straws and electric cars and electric cars. This is not electric cars are new. They're not new. I remember people talking about electric cars when I was a kid back in the 90s. But it was like somehow it wasn't possible. Now it is. Interesting. So I remember they've been talking about it for such a long time. It just wasn't so too radical, wouldn't work, blah blah blah. And then just out of sudden, bam, we are going to all cars will be electric in 2 years, and everything will be solar, and everything is artificial intelligence. And I'm like, wow, this was so radical ideas just 3 years ago, and now it's just being not just accepted but implemented. Almost
quickly, right? Quickly. That's the thing with how the energy will go. It will be like really quick stuff.
It is super quickly. I'm like, woo! I'm on a roller coaster ride, and I can't.
Totally.
And yeah, there was, but I was like, okay, but this is so many quick changes. So I guess I just have to somehow like go along with it. As Americans say, you know, beep or get off the pot. So I'm like.
And I do really think as well that goes with your own internal work and stuff, because I imagine lots of people watching this video are probably into their own self-growth and stuff like that, and their own spirituality. Like, I just feel like as well, like this will start to change. People's consciousness will radically and quickly keep changing.
Totally.
Which you then adapt to, which you then make different calls and therefore different outcomes, and then an event comes in, you adapt to, and it's just going to have that kind of, when you say roller coaster, I do feel like this is an energy that's going to come in, which is going to start to normalize itself within everybody's frequency, so we don't find it quite so disrupting, and we're able to go way more with the kind of like twists and turns and the changes, and each time we just grow and we grow and we grow and we grow. That's really cool. I like it.
Yeah, totally. Like it makes sense because we are moving into the realms that are way more flexible. The astral realms, the internet realms, they are way more reactive. That's the whole thing. But that's the council culture and angry culture. That's because the subtle energies, the airy energies, the astral realm are way more reactive because they are subtle. They are not weighted down by the physicality existence. So that means us as a people, since we spend most of our lives there, or just like a big parts of our life we actually spend in that astral realm, we will have to become more flexible too.
Totally.
There's no way around it. It just makes perfect sense. You have to match the surroundings where you are at.
Totally. And I think as well that like one of the good things with that is I do think obviously this year, you know, we're in the transition from going from all this earth stuff, earth energy, into like this more air energy at the end of the year. So things, you know, might take a little bit longer to work themselves through this year, but I think from next year onwards things really will move quick. So any things that come up that are difficult, I do believe there'll be solutions that come through quickly. Do you know what I mean? Within your own life as well as within, like, you know, society. So that's something that's really cool as well.
I would say definitely. I would say just as coronavirus is already making people more think about getting their businesses more online, and now they are at home, so they have time to actually make it or work and make it happen. And I think that the next year, when things with the coronavirus, I would assume, will calm down, people will still building up on that. They will build up on the changes that they made throughout this whole year and throughout the coronavirus. And one of the things I'm definitely seeing that would be good to implement if somebody's looking for some tips is getting wider connection, astral interactions. That means obviously like getting online, but maybe like, you know, having more different markets or having more different businesses, just kind of using that qualities of that astral realm for your advantage instead of letting them working against you, which means being better connected, being more flexible, be faster. Now it's all about fast reacting to a certain issues or certain trends. So
in like an innovative way as well, like in an
innovative way. I actually was looking at some YouTube influencer, and she was talking about, well, nowadays the people who are actually even like a smaller brands, but they are on Instagram, can be more successful because they can very quickly react to the trends where the big brands need like a 10 levels of approval, and before they will approve doing something new or something relevant, the trend is already gone 6 times. So she was giving like today and nowadays in this environment, the one who acts quickly, goes with this very airy energy, that one wins. and one who is just having 10 levels of approval doesn't react quickly enough. It's stagnant, it's earthy, because the earthy energy are very stagnant, takes longer before they move.
Yeah.
It's just not going to work out. I would say it's exciting. It's just, it's just, no changes are ever that easy and getting out of the comfort zone. But like, that's how you change.
Yeah, and also I do think like this is giving us, like I say, that kind of like introduction to where things, the energies that we're going to be working with as a collective. So I don't know, I think life ultimately always is supportive because it needs everything to keep going, so it keeps going ultimately. And I think that's something that's always like, I always find that really reassuring, with regardless of what's going on in my life. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah,
And
totally.
the more adaptable that you are, and the more innovative, I really think the word is like, it's being innovative, and I think we all will be. And like you say, I totally agree, this whole thing about having a way bigger, wider community, like spreading, like so if you're a business, it's definitely about making sure that you get either an audience, or you have customers, or you have other work colleagues in different parts of the world that are all feeding into whatever it is that you are also creating. Because I think there's something really big with that, with like the Aquarius energy, but also with like the nodes of the moon shifting and the north node going into Gemini. Gemini is such a like, let's involve everybody, let's find out everybody's different points of view, let's just, it's playful, it's actually so much lighter. So despite things potentially being quite heavy now, we are ultimately going into much lighter energy for sure on many levels. Even with Saturn moving out of Capricorn and then into Aquarius, it's way lighter. And interestingly, Saturn rules both Capricorn and Aquarius, but it's almost like, I don't know, Capricorn for me is a lot more heavier. And it is all these things like establishments, governments, routines, structures, hierarchy. And obviously then we're going to go straight into Aquarius, which is really not. This is where everybody is the innovator, everybody is the collaborator with everybody else. It is actually incredibly expansive energy. But I suppose, like I think you said earlier, everything's just going through a bit of a purging process, just to make sure that everything's in alignment for this new energy that's coming through. So I would say as well, from the business point of view, or whatever it might be, just totally use this situation now to work out like, how can you become more innovative, respond faster to your customers, or be more like really know what your customers really want and need. And I know businesses are always saying that, but never is there a more important time to like really know what your client, what your product, you know, it's so about connection, community. And like Aquarius is very much like tribal energy. So if you can get your business to be a tribe with all of your colleagues and the people that work for you, it's the same as then also create a tribe for all of the clients or the customers that buy from you, because this tribe energy is going to be so, so important. That's what I feel anyway.
Really, no, definitely, definitely. I think that in a way, because we've been going through, and as a humanity, we've been going through so much development, I would say, especially past 20 years, and with the technology, I think we are getting to the point where we are starting to just be too developed almost for the physical realm. Like the physical realm is just, it's not enough anymore. It's, we just kind of learn the lessons of our physical world, and I personally think that it makes sense. I think especially for the Western world, with the First and Second World War, that was like the biggest kind of like a hit, I would say. And then after that, we just kind of still dealt with the aftermath. But past 20 years, especially majority, let's say for the Western world, is more or less in like a peaceful situation and just kind of enjoying the benefits and the abundance and kind of being okay-ish. So it seems to me like if we almost like already learned all the lessons, as like kind of starting to get into the point we are transcending the physical plane. It's not enough. We need to move to the next plane, and that's astral plane. So that makes sense that our world, our lives will start to move more and more to the astral realm, which is the internet for now. And more and bigger chunks are going to be moved there. And I'm seeing the coronavirus literally is just pushing us towards that astral world, literally putting us on the verge of the physical plane, and just giving us the nudge to move us even to the direction of the astral world, because we are locked at home, like the two of us, we are locked at home on a physical plane. This would never happen because I'm in a lockdown in Prague, you are in the UK. So we are now in the astral world where I'm in a complete lockdown. I'm physically restrained. You are in another. You are basically across the across the sea, and most likely people who are watching us are maybe now in a lockdown in US. So this interaction could never happen without our lives being already moved in the astral world. This whole thing would be impossible just 20 years ago. So
Yeah.
we are definitely moving more and more in that astral world. More people are making money online, more people are selling online, more people are just having social life online. It's all we're moving towards the astral world. And ultimately, obviously, for those who are hermetically inclined, that means yes, at some point in humanity, we will move to the third, which is the mental realm. If you read 2001, the book 2001 Space Odyssey, that gives you an idea of what that will be. That's basically moving to the mental realm, which is the final stage of the development. That's what's going to happen. Read the book. That will give you enough information on what humanity one day will be. But anyway, so now we are not there yet. So we are now entering the astral realm, and I'm seeing that this is just push. So I would say if people really want to they can make the best out of this, because there is so many new opportunities. Because for those people who will go with the flow of the Tao, go towards the astral world, move their businesses more into the astral world, they will gain and they will do just tremendously in the whole situation. So many new opportunities. Now I do talk like a Trump, but I really do mean there's a lot of new opportunities opening in this situation that will be, just go with the Tao, go with astral world, and amazing things will happen.
Yeah, totally. And also just realize it's not necessarily like you suddenly need to be like, say what I did, from no online business to now all it is an online business. It's a totally different thing. It could just be that you just start to bring on board some more of those factors to do with whatever business that you already have. And also just this thing about connecting. I just know the connection bit is really, really important.
Totally.
And it's widening, where I don't care what business you've got or how successful it is, it's totally about widening that and diversifying that, but at the same time being unique to each of these diversities that you then bring into the connection of whatever your business is. Those are also the things that are going to do so well. And it's definitely about the innovation stuff. Just innovation, it's like the genius. And it's also about trusting when you get an idea that suddenly comes out of nowhere in like a millisecond, and it's almost like a download. You know, you've got to pay attention to those. And I know that happens a lot being psychic, but I truly feel that's going to start happening for all of us so much more, because it's part of that new energy that's going in. So totally pay attention to whatever those like rapid insights of something might be that kind of feel like a eureka moment. There's something to follow and pay attention to.
We've been also previously been talking like basically that we feel that this whole coronavirus thing that's happening is pretty much like a huge Saturn return for the whole humanity. That's really trying to remove all that bullshit, remove all the illusions, and then just get people to be real with themselves. The governments, we see the governments, the politicians are showing their real life, how they really are. People in our surroundings show who they truly are. Everybody's showing their true colors. And also, I think that actually extends to the businesses, because now with the online stuff, if the businesses are creating a fake illusion, if you are selling a soda drink and you keep saying it's the healthiest stuff in the world and it's actually not, nowadays you will be exposed. Now, that was something like how you can expose somebody back in the day without the internet. It's like, oh yeah, this is full of sugar, but you never have the platform to share that, and you never have a platform to gain attraction from the other people. But nowadays it's so much easier to call brands and people, you know, they call them for their bullshit. It's happening also in the makeup world. When there's like something that's a low quality, or they change the formula halfway through having a product, now people notice, now people make fuss about it. So the removing of illusions.
And actually, that's such a good point. I think that's such a big point as well, because it's about that being authentic. And I do just feel like even if somebody can't find somebody out through the internet, you know what, people will just feel that doesn't feel authentic. Like what you're saying to me, what you're selling to me, that just feels off. And you know what, most people will hardly even notice that they're doing it, but they'll just start to just fade away from paying attention to those sort of brands, to those sort of individuals, to whatever it is, because that is this new energy with this Aquarian type of vibe. So it's definitely about the more authentic you can be, just the better that will also help you in your relationships, in your business, and whatever that you're doing. And yeah, I do feel this is where I think it'll be interesting to see what happens with social media. Because for sure, social media is a big part of online, right? And we know that that's going to get even more of a boost. But at the same time, it's going to get a real boost about what is authentic and what is not. And I don't really feel like social media has been overly smashed by who's being authentic and who isn't. I know there's bits of chat, but this will be something like the whole collective starts to not be interested for some reason in anything that doesn't seem authentic, which is such an interesting, I think this will be a really interesting thing in social media, because it is so easy to depict whatever you want, or to literally create illusions, right? And it would just be really interesting to see how long it takes for the collective to really start to move away from those kind of external illusions. Like, I mean, I do think this is what the virus is doing anyway. Like you're saying, it's completely starting to move illusions about safety, about government, about finances, about stability, like all of these things. It's really shifting it, and it's doing it radically. And so obviously that's going to be happening in your own life, and I'm totally seeing it in my own life. I've become aware of some illusions that I've had my entire life. And I'm suddenly like, basically, fuck, really? Oh my God. But you know what is happening, because if it happens externally, it's happening internally. But the cool thing is, when you start to appreciate that, you can then make different calls. And one thing that my spirit guides really said to me about illusions recently was, as long as you can spot the illusions, then you know not to necessarily take any action or make any decisive decisions off an illusion outside of you. Whereas if you don't know something's an illusion and you make very distinct decisions, choices, and actions off that illusion, you are ultimately going to fuck yourself over because it is an illusion and you're making all these decisions off something which ultimately just doesn't really exist, and that will crumble at some point in the future. So I think there is no problem with illusions, because hey, man, it's part of creativity. Do you know what I mean? And there is nothing wrong with it. But if you start to make certain decisions and actions off certain things that are illusions, that will potentially cause difficulties for you further down the line. And those structures, those relationships, those choices, those actions will crumble for sure. But it's cool, because even when it crumbles, and I've had this, you just learn something, you do something different, and you adapt, and then you get better. So ultimately still, none of this is an issue. It's just stuff to play and experiment with. And this playful energy is totally coming in. Like, I think from the 5th of May onwards, when the nodes of the moon shift from Capricorn and Cancer into Sag and Gemini, this is a playful, explorative energy, which I think will be really exciting. But yeah, the illusion thing, I think, is really something to pay attention to right now. And if I can just say one more thing, sorry, because just so I remember, I know Neptune energy is really important for what's going on with this virus, because in astrology, like, Neptune is seen as a planet that would rule viruses, because for many different reasons. And so one of the things that you can do is, if you look at your own birth chart, you want to see where Neptune is transiting. So not the Neptune that's actually in your birth chart, Neptune as it is now in the sky. See which house it's in, and then whichever house it's in, my spirit guide said to me, this is where you're going to be having put pressure on you to change old limiting beliefs and creating new beliefs that support you into the future. So I just think that's just something to consider if you know anything about your birth chart.
That's really amazing. That's really amazing tip. Thanks for sharing. That's a really good idea. I'll have a look at it. This is really this is really good one. I'm definitely seeing that. Definitely, this feels like a huge Saturn return for the whole society, and again, like, actually, I would say, as we are like entering this airy age, it actually does remind me the court cards, especially from a tarot, from the sword suit, because first you have the Page of Swords. That's like the first stage, which is like coming with the new ideas, bringing new ideas, being innovator, being innovative. But then also we have the Queen of Swords, which I always read as be the one who cuts off things that needs to be cut off in terms of give birth to something else. So something has to go in terms of something else has to live. Then the knight and the king is just taking action, and also being rational, being well connected. Like all of those qualities I'm actually seeing in those 4 court cards. In the suit of air, I'm actually seeing that seems to be the qualities we are now all pushed to have, and pushed to, I would say, just use more and be more of that, to really be able to adapt to this, I would say, new times that are coming, which again can be.
No, that's such a great. I love that. It's really deep. I can really picture what you're saying there, and that makes total sense. It's like the process of how you can go through it all.
Yeah, definitely. I would definitely say so. Well, okay, maybe do you want to like do the cards, or you feel like you something else you want to cover right now?
I suppose only just one last thing, just as the really nice thing. This really is like, you know, this is really going to bring everybody together. It's going to bring you new mates. It's going to bring you new communities. Like there is like a real positive with this. So despite the fact that things might be in quarantine at the moment, I think that's almost just a bit like the hermit card, you know, so we can all start to process what's going off. Because even if we're not actually having to work with the virus physically within our bodies in some way, we'll still be downloading these codes of like changing belief systems and adapting to this new way of being. And this almost incubation period, I really see, or like just see it as it's a way of helping you like transition into this new way of being. And actually quite often you can do this without even doing anything. It's just like a subconscious, unconscious process. But just by having some time away from routines and habits will literally start to open you up to different possibilities, even on that mental subtle realm. So it's a good thing. It really is a good thing.
This is actually such a wow, it's such an interesting and really amazing idea that you came up with, that, well, this is basically like an incubation period in the hermit card, which makes sense because almost every, like, I would say a good part of the religious scriptures from all sorts of religion, they actually do have a part when the main hero or the main character, it's in some way going into isolation, either in a desert or they are going in a cave, or just there is like there's some sort of like a sacred isolation period when the person is getting somehow like confined in place, when there is a limited amount of distractions, which means the material outer world, and then that's when the person is coming to some sort of enlightenment or ideas and just that. So it seems like literally we are like all now being pushed for 40 days in the desert.
Yes, for sure. No, quite literally.
Quite literally, yeah.
What I think is a little bit funny is how ironic we've been going on and on about climate change as a species, and then suddenly there's lockdown of so many flights. I don't know basically how much we might slightly reduce this carbon footprint.
By the way, they also did not have a toilet paper in the desert for 40 days. Learn from the best.
I'd be screwed. Anybody that lives with me, they always go, you go through so much toilet paper.
Man, I need like 4 trucks of toilet paper every month.
I swear it's a female thing. Loads of us females do that, right?
I think I have like 4 times the usage as majority of the other people. Like yeah, like all the people I ever knew, like just like they have like a 1 roll for like a week or so, and then just like after 1 week the roll is almost like just very little. I'm like, of it is missing. I'm like, because like in the meantime, like I like 6 packages are gone.
When my brother lived with me, it was always this ongoing joke, like, Abby, how are we out of toilet paper again? Anyway,
this is something that people like us have it really hard right now.
Yes.
So okay, so now we can have, I was thinking doing some cards.
Cool.
Got my, because I'm all like yellow. I was trying to bring some happy spring colors.
I love that jacket. The jacket is just pimp. I totally love it. Exactly. exactly.
I like my Easter egg outfit.
I love it. I do.
So I have my matching golden universal.
Oh, they're nice ones.
So I'm going to pull a few of those. So okay, so I'm going to pull a few cards that kind of what is the advice for people currently right now who are being affected by this whole thing, how to make the best out of it ultimately. Man.
What is it? What?
Man.
Nice. But of course.
But of course. But of course. Man, like we wouldn't be freaking talking about it past 45 minutes. Exactly. Ace of Swords.
Yeah.
Coming with the new ideas. Bringing that new airy energy in. Ace of Swords, beginning of a new chapter, beginning of a new cycle. It's an Ace of Swords. That also means potential for new things, implementing new things, new ideas at the beginning of the stages. This is the best time for coming with the new ideas, new solutions, just starting new chapters, new projects, new ideas, even new perspectives on life, new philosophical ideas, new perspective on pretty much everything business. So this is one. Yeah, we've been talking about it for 40 minutes. And the second card I put was Free of Swords. Free of Swords is a card that I tend to read as, again, swords again. We have more swords. I'm pretty sure once you pull your cards, I'm pretty sure there's going to be some swords too. This is a very swordy situation. This card, I always read it as being faced with basically some sort of something not meeting your expectations. You expect things being certain way and it just doesn't match the reality, and then the reality hits, and then the person is getting really distressed from the expectations of some sort not being met. You can see this is literally, here is a card of a heartbreak, but obviously it does not have to be only heartbreak. This can also mean the expectations like the government will take care of you, or the government this and that, or I'm safe, or I'm healthy, or I'm going to do this and this in upcoming 2 months, and then you can't because this whole thing is coming. So this card are definitely, I would read those two cards as, don't worry, like try to move away from trying to change the perspective. Don't hold on to too much onto things that just didn't meet your expectations, or things that you've been planning to do or thought are going to be a certain way and they're not turning that way. Don't worry about it. Try to move away from that and move towards coming up with new ideas, new reactions, new perspectives, and just new ways how to handle the whole situation, and look for opportunity. Look for something new you can start and implement instead of worrying about the expectations that were not met.
Nice. No problem.
That can be also that. Yeah, that's true.
So what am I pulling to?
Yeah. Go see what you have.
Let's see. This one. Oh, nice. Six of Pentacles.
Six of Pentacles.
I love that card, by the way. I know what this is. That's so the Aquarian energy. I love it. One sec. And then this one. Hey, you got it right. Queen of Swords.
Mic drop.
Exactly. So I really feel like with this, it's like, okay, for me, Six of Pentacles is always this thing about give, receive, share, and grow. And I do think, like, as a culture, I think we've really been aware of like giving and receiving, like transactional in that kind of way. And I do feel like the new energy that's coming in is all about, right, so if I have a business, because we've been going on about it, so I'm going to give this and then they'll give me that. But then it's more about, okay, so what can I share that means that collectively we both grow? So not only does the customer grow more, but I grow more, but collectively we also have a point which actually grows and expands. And I feel like this is that thing about the tribe energy, like bringing in tribes, where things are no longer now just about transactional giving, receiving. It's way more about connecting in and growing as a group and going forward. And then that would apply to every single thing. And to me, that it really is that kind of Aquarian age. And I do feel like that's kind of happening already. You know, when you hear like some really cute, cool things about, say, people doing things in the community for the elderly who might not be able to get out or feeling restricted. So people are coming together to, like, you know, work more in that collective way where groups come together to do things for other groups, and therefore both parties expand and grow even more. I really feel like that's something that's going off, which is awesome. And then obviously Queen of Swords is obviously totally like what you're saying, but I do also feel like as well, this is actually about that thing you're mentioning about illusions, and then I was about getting really clear about what are illusions and what are not, and then cutting through the illusions, and sort of seeing things like the smokes and mirrors is like going to disappear if you want it to. Obviously you can choose to still continue to go along with smokes and mirrors, but that ultimately might cause some problems further down the line, like we said. Like, it's really about, I think as well, being really, really honest with yourself, and then that would pull in the authenticity as well. And that's kind of what I feel. But I also really feel this, it's about new visions. I truly believe new visions are coming in, like collectively, but also on an individual level for every one of us. It might be in small ways and in bigger ways. But these new visions are coming in, and that is exciting. Also, I love her shoes. She's got really nice shoes on.
Nice.
So because I'm drawn to that, that just makes me think new ways of grounding your energy into physical reality too. Different things are going to start to become important, and different things are actually going to cause physical growth, and they're going to cause wealth. Different things are going to start generating money that weren't generating money previously.
Totally.
I actually think that's quite a big thing too. So that sounds good.
Awesome. Like, I would always see, like, if the Queen of Swords, for me, that's like one of the harsher queen cards, but at the same time, it's still a female, it's still a growth, it's still fertile energy. It's just a bit more rational than, let's say, the Queen of Cups. But definitely, it still suggests there is going to be growth coming out of this. There is expansion. There is things you can build, you can focus on. I pulled 2 more cards from my absolutely loved and favorite spirit animal deck, and I asked the cards, like, what is like more immediate advice, like what we can do right now. And I love this deck. It's in a Czech mutation, but I'm going to translate it. So this one is obviously a seahorse, and this one says, observe and wait.
Ooh, that's cool.
So I would say that's definitely saying, you know, I would say we are still kind of at the beginning of the whole process of the coronavirus transformation, or how to call this mess, Corona New Age entering phase. And I would say we are still kind of at the beginning. So I do see there will be more things coming, and this is still time to kind of wait and observe. And the other card was the Crow.
Oh, nice.
Says, create together with a spirit.
Nice.
So I would say that, again, that's something we've been talking about too, when you're now thinking about, like, where you should take your new path, in your business or in your life, private life, family life. Just think about the flow of the Tao. Where is it going? How is it going towards this new astral, airy, Aquarian situation? And just kind of go with the flow of that. So create together with the flow, with the Tao, instead of trying to going against it. That's kind of how I would read it.
Yeah, totally. And, like, you know what we were saying before, that reminds me, and I don't think we said this on camera, it's when we were chatting. You know what we were saying about how when Saturn moves out of Capricorn into Aquarius just from the 22nd of March to the 1st of July before it goes back again, there might be that little bit of a breather to do with some of this stuff. But then ultimately it might just go backwards a little bit while it just finishes off the last trails. And I think what you were saying about the first card, oh look, this is still sort of the beginning process. I think it's just important to have expectations, a bit like your 3 of Swords card. Get the right expectations for this coronavirus, because if you're aware this is not going to be a quick fix, you will then also start to think of different solutions to do with that. And I think you're less likely to be, let's say, get into that heartbroken, downhearted place because your expectations weren't in alignment with where things were heading. And just being realistic is something that's also really important, I think, with all the Swords cards that we got, you know what I mean? Because we want to stay ideally away from illusions because of other things that's going off. So yeah, so just being honest with expectations of how things are going. I think that's important too.
Definitely, the illusions are, I think, also might be connected with the incredible amount of various disinformation that's going on online. Like, I don't think ever in a history of humanity was ever so much weird illusion information, fake videos, everything just like coming all at once at humanity.
Yeah.
It's like there's a fear mongering, and or some people they're just like either understating or overstating, and it's really hard to see what's true in this and what's not. And there's definitely loads of illusions, but with this energy I would expect that one way or another people will be able to cut through those illusions.
I
Sooner or
agree.
later the hard data, the numbers will come. And I think that's going to be when the people will understand, like they will cut through all of that nonsense that's kind of happening through, and will be able to see for what it truly is.
Totally. And then this also reminds me of another thing that I know my spirit guides were saying to me is if you start to feel yourself getting pulled into the fear and the mania of what's going on, because let's face it, it can totally happen. Number one, just be mindful that basically collective consciousness as a whole is kind of vibrating this quite intense static, like erratic space while we're dealing with the virus. So you just want to have that little bit more compassion and like stillness anyway to do with your own relationships or stuff that's going off. But also as well, at the end of the day, it's kind of like and I've totally lost my train of thought. I could feel it like petering up. I was like, no, wait, guys, stop. Wait, the other thing they were saying was, fuck, it will come back. Just give me 1 second. Hate it when this happens. They were like, oh, that's it. Essentially people that will struggle most with this as well are people that have actually internally still got quite a bit of fear to do with stuff within their own life and their own being. People that have maybe done quite a bit of work or that have purged quite a lot of the intense parts of their life, etc., probably won't feel so pulled into this whole kind of thing as well. So if you feel yourself getting pulled in, just have a little check. Oh, is there something else going off in my day-to-day that's making me feel fearful? And therefore it's then just getting amplified by the other things that's going on. So kind of having that perspective about actually how we are all connected as a humanity. So when all of humanity goes through something and it can be quite intense, just have that little bit more mindfulness about what this means in your day-to-day reactions and just that kind of thing. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, totally. And actually, I was thinking about exactly something very similar the other day, and that is, it seems like we are definitely in general, especially past few years, we are kind of naturally as a humanity going towards the direction of more individuality or celebrating individuality, being more individual. But at the same time, by being more individual, we seem to actually connect with the society better.
Yes.
I think it's because like the society, instead of being this cookie cutter, but like the ideal society member would be this cookie cutter person, like it was maybe 50 years ago. Definitely, it was then way more like a cookie cutter approach to things. Now the society seems to moving way more towards celebrating more of an individual approach. But I would say through that we are connecting better because it's removing the illusion, it's celebrating the individual role that everybody is playing in this whole society, and it's like trying to forcefully make a clock out of wheels that are all the same size instead of letting the wheels just being naturally the size and playing the role that is supposed to, and then the clock just comes so beautifully together and works so much better.
Yeah.
So I'm definitely seeing that happening more and more past year, and I think this whole coronavirus madness is going to get us even more towards that direction. So it would seem everything just working better.
No, I totally agree, because it's like that thing about like I always think about it as in like netball or sport. You never have like three people doing the same position on the same side. You need all these different, like goal keep, goal shoot, goal defense. Like you need everybody doing their own unique roles so they can all to come together as a team and basically kick ass. So like it is that kind of thing where and that comes into the innovation, I think, as well. Everybody being authentic, being innovative, like chatting to each other more, communicating more, so not risk taking more, but definitely stepping into the unknown more, with more flexibility, with more ease. I think there'll be less judgment, interestingly. I don't know why. I just think collectively we'll end up having less judgment, because I just feel like we'll just naturally move away from things that aren't authentic And therefore we won't need to even label it like, oh, that's shit, or I don't like how that feels. You just kind of will just get pulled in a different direction, and it won't be so much about labeling anything, just so much as like flowing onto the thing that feels the best next thing for you, which I think will be really nice, because it will also allow us all to feel more comfortable to be ourselves, right? Because it's just like, cool.
Definitely. I think it's I think lots of cases the judgment is a result of some sort of like a, obviously, like in many cases I would say upbringing, but some sort of like a, you have some rules that the person is supposed to follow, and you follow them for one reason or another, and you get judgmental when you see the other person somehow does not conform to them. But if you actually, if there is a less rules to follow, then there is like less reason to judge, because what you can stand that person against, there is no set of rules you can stand them against to be judgmental. So it's, I think, as we are like loosening the amount of rules, and I would say that's definitely, especially in Western society, happening, then that's, the society will naturally be less judgmental.
And therefore it will be more creative and innovative again, because it doesn't suppress like what is right and what is wrong. Suddenly everything becomes available, and therefore people just feel so much safer and easier to do or think or say or do what they want in whatever way it might be. And that will for sure like expand the boundaries of like how we work collectively and just frigging everything.
Yeah, and it will just open the gate to that, the innovations. And because if you are constantly judgmental, how you can be innovative? Because anything that's fairly innovative and non-conformist is just going to be shut down immediately. So I think this definitely does open doors to really enter that Aquarian age of individual leadership and innovations. Clearly, there's so many pointers that are just pointing in the same direction right now. So it would just make perfect sense as the whole society just kind of make changes to really, really be able to get to that. So yeah, definitely.
It's cool.
So we can like the last part of the show or interview about such a fun topic. We can go to give some practical advice, like what people can do right now. I have some ideas for like a cleansing meditations, and I know you have some tarot stuff.
Yeah.
Tell me. I know, but I need some tarot tips myself currently.
I'm going to show you.
Yeah.
These are my like top sort of like well-being. I'm not a chiropractor anymore, so just so you know, but there's sort of things that I would always do if I was ill, or tell my clients to do, or basically if you want to keep your immune system high, these are my top tips. Number one, this.
Oh, nice.
Salt baths. Salt baths are amazing. They will get loads of magnesium into you, which is really important for your body. But then also, from the psychic point of view, they'll just help cleanse your energy field of any of like this intensity. So if you are feeling stressed or intense about something, get in a salt bath. And then they will also help with this integration. So you know how we told you about like the energy shifting and changing? Salt baths will help you with the integration 100%. So that's one thing.
Yeah, I love salt baths. I think they're awesome. So cleansing, so relaxing.
These are the other things that I recommend, which are vitamin C. You want to take a high amount of vitamin C, and vitamin D3. Vitamin D3 is incredible for like helping you get your immune system up, potentially to do with viruses, stuff like that. So I really recommend those.
I actually might have some. I think I actually have still some from hospital that I was taking. They gave me
Just
some like.
To do with supplements, ideally make sure your supplements don't have magnesium stearate in them, particularly stearate, because it's just something that the machines use to help produce like the production of the pills, and it helps the machines work more effectively. However, when it goes into your body, it actually means that it's not so easy to absorb like the actual content of the pill, because it creates like a bit of a film around you. So magnesium stearate, or at least stearate, just check on the contents. If it's got that in it, I would recommend, well, let's put it this way, you do what you want, but I wouldn't get it because of that reason. So that's just something to consider. Then these are my two favorite oils to do with if you're getting ill or something like that. One of them is Thieves. Thieves essential oil. This is epic. You want to put it on something like the soles of your feet, because it actually helps absorb into your bloodstream really, really quickly. But also you could gargle with this if you've got a sore throat. You know, you can put it on your skin or chest, but always do your like a skin test or whatever. you know, to make sure you don't have an allergic reaction. And then the other one I really like is eucalyptus. I think eucalyptus is incredible, and particularly because things to do with like the throat and the chest, this is to do with that kind of like authenticity and being able to express your true self. This will also help with that as well on that energetic level. And then last two things, this won't work if you're vegan because it does involve, it is like bee products, but I mean, I really would recommend them. One is Manuka Honey, but obviously make sure you get one that's like a really high content. And then the other one, this is probably like my number one savior if I'm really ill, and that's actually bees pollen.
Oh, okay.
It's friggin' amazing. Like, I recover so quickly, or I can really feel like it helps get my immune system up. So they're kind of like what I just think are some amazing things that you can do that are natural, that can help you increase your immune system. But also, if you do get ill, these things always help me and my family, and I totally recommend them. But you just need to go with what you feel is right for you, obviously. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because I'm no longer a chiropractor, and I don't have any sort of like, I don't know, status to do that anymore. So it's purely whatever you feel is right for you. Basically, that's the disclaimer.
When it comes to essential oils, I'd love eucalyptus, totally. I'd love lavender one. And actually, my boyfriend Matthew, he loves the thieves one. He was talking, I remember he was talking about it years ago. One of my own personal favorite when it comes to essential oils is, I'm not sure you can see it.
Tea tree.
Yeah, I love tea tree. I know lots of people hate it, but
No, I like it.
I love it. My grandmother used to love it when I was a kid. She would pretty much put it on everything. Like when I had like some scratches and stuff like that, she was like bath my hands in it. And so I love it, using it all the time since childhood. I also have a lavender one. I'm using that one. From herbs, I personally like to use nettles in this type of a situation, because nettles is very Marsian. So if you are like tired, or you're dealing with something that is very moist and like coughs and stuff like that, sometimes when you have very tiredness, the nettles, the iron in the nettles and the very Marsian energy for me always just helps to give me some energy, to kind of boost everything. And I personally love heather, like heather tea, but always finding it always makes me feel like great. But yeah, have a look at the herbs, what people have, and what herbs might work for you. For example, lots of people love chamomile. My God, like if I would get an actual morphine, it would not make me sleep faster than chamomile. I literally for me, chamomile is like fucking like a sleeping pills injection. Like actually, I'm resistant to painkillers and sleeping pills very much, but fucking chamomile, I sleep in 10 minutes. Like coma, like literally like coma within 10 minutes after like a cup of chamomile. So I don't drink chamomile unless like I want to die within like 10 minutes, and just wake up after like 24 hours. So I don't know why chamomile has this effect on me. It's literally like morphine, really.
That works like that for you though. That's awesome.
I don't know. Like Matthew, my boyfriend, he loves chamomile. He's drinking so many cups of chamomile. I just like have a 1 cup of chamomile, and I literally have the same thing like I had in the hospital when they would actually give me like a sleeping injections, not pills, injections. Whoever got them knows they are working much faster. So actually, like the sleeping injection, you just sit and it's like, so is something happening or not? Okay. And you sleep within and you're just like, within 30 seconds, you're just somewhere else. So that's why you always have to be in bed when they give it to you. And you have to go pee beforehand. And chamomile, for me, that's exactly like that. I drink chamomile, I have to be near bed, and then like within 10 minutes, I'm like dead. So I don't know. This is like a weird chamomile intolerance. But when it comes to the current situation, I would personally definitely recommend cleansing. It's still, as we talked about it, the Queen of Swords. We are getting rid of old. We need to cleanse also on all levels, mentally, energetically, and physically. obviously wash your hands and stuff like that. That's the, wash your hair, wash your hands. That's the physical cleanliness. But also with astral cleanliness, that means you can do smudging, you can do the salt baths, you can do maybe you can even drink some like a cleansing herbs that work both physically and astrally. And
So
then obviously not forgetting about mental cleansing with all the news and stuff, and
yeah,
so much stress is happening in thoughts, crazy thoughts. So this is, if there was a one time recently to start meditation or practice, now it's the time to really get that clarity, cleanse that mind, cleanse that astral energy, and really keep everything like clear, because it's air time, it's Aquarian time, it's a Saturnian return time. So rational clarity is important. So I think that's why I would definitely highly recommend a meditational practice to really gain that clarity and calmness of mind, and especially with all the insanity that's going on, is going to be really important. Also, people will be under increased stress because lots of people are in areas where there is not much food, or like the supermarkets are not stocking up enough, or there is a lack of toilet paper. Thank God we have enough. Our stores are actually here, I would say, supplied very well, except for the toilet paper. So we don't really have that problem. But I know, for example, I've heard in LA, people are having currently some difficulties with like food and stuff. So double the amount, double the reason to be definitely doing some meditation practice to really keep the center point, keep all of that at bay.
the meditation as well will do that whole thing that we talked about earlier about, like radical ideas coming through, like downloads of whole ideas, like new visions, new thoughts. Like meditation absolutely opens that up to come into you too. So also from that point of view, I think the meditation is like really important.
Definitely, I would say this is just a brilliant time for meditational practices in general. So yeah, I was also about to recommend a salt bath, but you kind of obviously did that too, which I can highly recommend. If you have a bath, then do that. If you don't have bath, sometimes what you can do is just get a little bit of salt in your hands and do salt peeling, just like around your body. If you have a shower, if you don't have a bath, that is great too. I do it actually quite often. So I can definitely recommend that personally. So yeah, that was pretty much what we had for you today. I'm really hoping you enjoyed this show and this interview. Let us know your thoughts. Let us know in the comment section below how you feel about it, where you are at, how's it currently looking at the place where you can get, how are you coping? How are you coping physically? How are you coping astrally? How are you coping mentally? How is it affecting your business? How are you dealing with if you're on lockdown, how you dealing with the cave solitude, the hermit situation, incubation. We've been talking about. Let us know. We'll be looking forward to hear from you, and stay healthy, preferably. Stay well, stay healthy. Wash your hands, and wear the mask. If you have one, if don't, we can make one out of scarf or out of fabric, and yeah, stay healthy.
Totally. And just believe it as well, like the belief thing. You know what I mean? Just like raise vibration, like just keep yourself in that space of just, just know your own truth. And so you'll know deep down inside if you're going to be okay or not. And I can guarantee basically all of you will be. We will all be totally fine, no problem.
We'll be fine. We'll be fine. And with that, my dear listeners, watchers, I'll be looking forward to hear you soon, and let us know what you think in the comment section.